You don't have to graduate from single family to multifamily. You can go straight into multifamily. This is not possible. It's not us. I have to graduate from single family to multifamily. There are steps, there are levels to this game.
Hey, Chris, welcome to the show today.
Hey, Michael, thank you very much for having me here. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. Totally a full circle moment to be here sitting with you today. So really appreciate it.
Hey, look, you've done a lot of stuff. You've done 4 syndications, and you've kind of chosen the capital raising route a little bit. Before we get into that, how did you kind of get into real estate? What precipitated that?
Absolutely. So my journey started like many as a single family investor.
No, you don't say.
Yeah, it did. And we were accidental landlords. My wife and I, we had a condo. We were starting the family, wanted to move out of that condo and move to our single family home. We discovered at the time that we were trying to move to our single family home that in fact we would have to, because we bought it during the prior to the financial crisis, that we would have been underwater with that property. So when we went to go to talk about selling it, it was not really an option for us unless we were going to sell it at a loss.
You had to hold it.
We had to hold it, and then we rented it, and that became a great rental property for us over the years. And so we really didn't think much about it. Started thinking about just all the income that was coming in after all the expenses were paid, and we got it consistently rented out. We did have to deal with a couple of headache tenants, which we could talk about throughout this conversation, but that's how we broke into the real estate game. And fast forward years later, we really started to look at how can we really monetize this thing. And I said, let's do more single families.
Of course.
That's the only way. We're gonna build a portfolio of single family homes. And I joined masterminds related to single family, and I put together a nice little single family portfolio. And then I showed it to my wife, and we discovered at that time that we needed way too many single family homes, and it's going to take us too much time as two busy professionals as the years went on to be able to replace our income. So we said there has to be another way.
Yeah. So you kind of thought what we all think, single family house investing, and some people do actually execute on the plan and they waste years doing it. You kind of looked ahead and go, something's not right. That doesn't appeal to me. So what did you do about it?
Yes, well, our financial freedom plan that I had right there pretty much
out
got
the window.
Right out the window. It got scrapped, but at the same time that I was learning about this single family home investing and building this financial freedom plan with single family homes, I actually stumbled upon a guy named Michael Blanc, a couple of your industry peers like the real estate guys, and those types of folks. And I'm listening to these podcasts, and I'm hearing people say, hey, you don't have to graduate from single family to multifamily. You can go straight into multifamily. I just was like, this is not possible. It's not us. I have to graduate from single family to multifamily. There are steps, there are levels to this game. And when I finally discovered this, and I consumed all of the podcasts, all of the YouTube videos, all of the ebooks, it then led me to the path of saying, you know what, we can do this. And so I started out my journey in multifamily actually as a passive investor. I joined into multiple different meetup groups. I got connected with operators that way. I joined, some of this happened during the pandemic. So then I started getting, connected virtually with other operators in the markets that I was interested in. And that created some opportunities for me a couple years later to start investing passively.
Right. So that kind of opened up the door to the worldwide, of syndications. And at one point then, did you want to become a little more actively involved?
Well, it's a great question, right? Because for me, as I started to really invest passively, what I realized about this whole process is that I actually love real estate investing more than just being a passive investor. And in fact, I started thinking to myself that, hey, as a busy working professional, someone in the pharmaceutical industry, there are other people like me out there that probably are interested in being able to invest in real estate as well and would be interested in investing passively, but they just don't know how. How can I be that beacon to them was the question that I started to ask myself in combination with my passion for wanting to be able to diversify diversify my portfolio. I have to tell you that, during that time, the 2008 financial crisis, the European debt crisis, and all the other ups and downs of the financial markets over the years, that volatility was just something that we weren't interested in stomaching for much longer. And we wanted to have more control
Yeah.
over our financial future. And so that is how we ended up getting into investing in real estate as passive investors. And then again, wanting to help others do the same. That's what brought us to active investing.
So what did you do? Well, how did you go about pivoting into active investing?
Well, yes. So, in that journey, I started really learning about a multitude of different things. And what I didn't want to do, I'll tell you, is just go at doing it without any education or knowledge. And so, upon my journey of learning about various different ways of investing in real estate, I started learning about other different types of program and training out there. Again, other folks in your peer set were marketing programs and talking about programs, and other people that I was investing alongside of. In fact, one of the mentors of mine actually said, "Hey, don't invest in any of those programs. Just do it yourself, and I can help you." And he's a successful investor, but he was adamant about not doing any coaching or mentoring program. He thought everything was overpriced and all that stuff. And for me, I needed to make sure that I could invest in structured education. I needed to be a part of my tribe, my community of people that were like-minded, that spoke my language. And what the path that led me down, throughout this time, I read your book at this point in time, of Financial Freedom with Real Estate Investing, not the other book that we talked about earlier today. I hadn't heard about that one. Between that, the YouTube videos, the way that you were delivering the content, your knowledge and subject matter expertise was something for me that really resonated with me compared to the others, and that connection is really what led me to joining the coaching and mentorship program. And the fact that you were so confident in your offer about making a guarantee, that was something that this was a great opportunity for me to consider. It was something that that from my wife's perspective, my wife Allison, when we were talking about it, that objections would be lowered as a result of some of these things. So that's what led me to this path. But the coaching and mentor thing was something that was really important to me in getting into this space.
I think it's a great path for a passive investor, especially when someone invests passively in a deal or second deal, and they're like, "This is really cool," and they start telling their friends about it, and before you know it, they're starting to raise money, and now they're asking themselves, "Well, how do I monetize that? How do I actually become a general partner?" And they now transition into the general partnership as more of a capital raiser. Now, there's a lot of maybe misconceptions about what that means, becoming a capital raiser. What does that mean to you? In other words, if you're focusing on capital raiser as a GP, how do you prepare for that, and what's required of you as such a member of a GP?
Yes, it's a great question. People have to realize that because in this space we are not investment advisors, that we have to meet certain SEC rules and regulations. We have to know about what is an accredited investor, what is a sophisticated investor, what's a 506C, what's a 506B, and all of those different types of things that are related to being able to talk about investment. But what led me to it, and why I wanted to be in this space, is because I do enjoy educating and talking to prospective investors about real estate investment opportunities. And what's required of me to do that, especially in the co-GP model, is to be in a position where not only am I being a part of the general partnership team and educating investors on the investment opportunities, but I am also I'm also responsible for being involved in other aspects of managing the real estate property. Perhaps that's doing some asset management, visiting the properties. Perhaps that is managing the property manager and making sure that they're executing the business plan, or investor relations, something that is material participation in that syndication deal, so that I'm not just quote unquote raising funds. And that was an important thing for me to be able to learn and understand understand, but then also take advantage of attracting and speaking to investors that are interested in diversifying their portfolio. That was really what I was focused on.
Yeah, so being knowledgeable and being involved in other parts of the GP is a legal requirement, but how does that also help with your capital raising directly?
Yes. So the way that it helps with my capital raising in particular is that you have to be able to communicate to investors what these investment opportunities are, and you have to be able to handle their objections and their concerns. And we all have to realize that in particular, these folks that we're speaking, they're smart, very smart people, and yes, and for the most part, they may not be as immersed in this world as we are, and maybe can filter through some of the things. They're just mostly led by what they're seeing in mainstream media. And so one of the things that I like to do is I don't like to necessarily wait for objections to come up. I like to introduce them myself. And,
Mhm.
hey, Chris, how do you do this? Or what about interest rates? And hey, the sky is falling. What about this? And commercial office is really going to take a hit. Aren't you concerned about those things? And I like to confront those things right up front, because it gives me the opportunity to then knock down those objections throughout our conversations. And it's not about eliminating risk, but it's about mitigating risk. And how can I give that investor more reasons to say yes, than to say no? One of the quotes that I actually borrow from you often is that a confused mind says no, and I'm a big believer in that. And so I try to reduce the amount of confusion as best as possible.
Now you've been able to raise a considerable amount of money over the last couple of years, actually, and so let's break it down real quick. What's your advice to someone who's just starting to raise capital, kind of for the first time? And then we'll talk like how did you scale that up a little bit here? But how did you first start off raising capital?
Yes, so I first started off raising capital. When I joined the community, I started looking at what ways can I add value. Am I the person who's going to be the numbers person, crunching all the numbers for the deal, and going deep in the market? Am I going to be the person that's going to be walking every unit, and then when prior to the closing of the property, or managing the asset afterwards? Those are some of the questions that came to mind. Or was I going to be the person that would really be helping lead the charge with respect to educating investors and
Mhm.
providing them information about the investment opportunities? And that was actually the space that I was most comfortable in. And in fact, the avatar, or the folks that I prefer to speak to, and the people in my industry and in my communities, that was something that really energized me. So I gravitated towards that, and that then meant that I needed to make sure that I could find my way in being a valuable member of any team.
Yeah.
And so that's what led me to that position, or to this space initially. And then the other thing I would say to that is, what I came to realize throughout this entire process is that when you have deals, there are really two key things that exist. You have a deal, and deals need money. And I figured to myself, the most important way that I can be valuable in a syndication model in particular, is to be able to be the person who can help bring some of the capital to close the deal.
That's right. Exactly right. Now, so you probably started tapping into your network and raising money one-on-one, but you may be able to expand that as well. Talk about how you've been able to expand your reach.
Yes, that's such an important thing. So yes, tapping in initially to friends, family, neighbors, all of the folks in my initial network was certainly some, friends of our kids' soccer sports teams. Those are folks who would often have conversations while we're standing on the sidelines talking about, hey, what do you do? What do you do? And we have these exchanges, and that opens up conversations. That's been most of a big part of it. But the other thing that has been really just a tremendous opportunity for me is really talking publicly, via social media, about what it is that I do outside of my W-2 job. And one of the things that I do in particular is I often post, try and do it mostly daily on LinkedIn, on
Mhm.
Facebook, on Instagram, to share knowledge, nuggets, if you will, of what's going on in the real estate space, or my experiences, or different types of information to help people know. Essentially, what I'm doing is attracting investors, create that ultimately will lead to conversations. So when I'm in the workplace, hey, Chris, I saw that post that you had the other day about topic X or topic Y. I'd really love to learn more about that. Can we have lunch? Can we set up a coffee? Can I reach out to you at night? And then the same thing happens when it comes to speaking with people, at other events or alumni associations, and people reaching out to me from my undergraduate university. Hey, I saw what you're doing. I've been investing in real estate too. I have a few single family homes. I've done this. I've done that. I've been looking at being able to scale my real estate business. Maybe we can talk sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Come on, let's do it. So that is really talking publicly about that and being vulnerable, sharing my experiences, helping people that maybe don't even know me be attracted to me and to my path in real estate and through social media has been a tremendous way of being able to attract investors.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you find there's a particular kind of investor that you're starting to attract?
Yeah, well, in fact, I've been very intentional about this, and so through different through other programs and mentorship programs, I've looked at being able to focus and target my outreach in some cases. So some of this is organic through me posting content, and then the other way that I'm able to engage folks is really through some targeted outreach. So what I mean by that is leveraging LinkedIn, in particular LinkedIn sales message, sales navigator, excuse me, to be able to curate specific audiences that I want to engage on social media. So for example, I happen to be a Black professional with a advanced degree, an MBA. So, and I live in the Northeast. So let's say I want to utilize that segmentation in LinkedIn Sales Navigator to say, give me all of the Black executives in the life sciences industry in the Northeast who have MBAs, and that then creates a list for me, and then I have specific messaging that can then go out and target those individuals that will then say, hey, Michael, it's nice to meet you. This is via LinkedIn, by the way. My name is Chris. I'm looking to reach out to other Black professionals who have MBAs and, just build my network. Would you be interested in connecting? 9 in the 10 times, most people on LinkedIn are like, oh, Chris, that's awesome. Yes, let's stay connected. But then that then opens up the follow-up conversation. Hey, Michael, that it's great. Thank you for connecting. I really appreciate it. In addition to being a Black professional working in the pharmaceutical industry, I also am actively involved in real estate. And some of the things that we do are really focused on helping people add passive income and save on taxes. And, typically, the returns can be better than the stock market. Is that something that you'd be interested in learning more about? Well, some people say, yeah, sure, that sounds interesting. And so that then leads us to having calls, and then we go on from there. So that's how I've been able to leverage social media to be able to create conversations that lead to prospective investors.
And this is basic marketing 101 that you're kind of applying. You're very clear about your avatar, and we find when you're developing avatar, it's really a reflection of you. Who are you? What's your background? Because then you resonate with other people. You have something in common immediately for the reasons you just mentioned. So if something in common with immediately, whatever, then I'm going to want to connect with you. And now you can lead the conversation, down the road. So I think that's fantastic. Where do you kind of see this going for you with regards to your reach and the platform maybe that you're building? Like, what's next on the agenda for you?
Oh man, I mean, really, what's on the agenda for me now is, I've had the opportunity with my company, Red Fox Multifamily, to join my mentor, now business partner, Philippe Schuligan and Jeff Rodriguez for Boost Capital at Boost Capital Group. And so now we have a customizable fund of funds that we can raise capital for to help passive investors, my avatar, their avatars, if you will, to invest passively in great real estate deals with great operators. So my intention is to help continue to build our fund, to continue to get to make that outreach, and in fact, get more people to activate that I have a lot of commitments, but a lot of people are still dipping their toe in, and so being able to activate more investors to get them off of the bench and stop being like passive lookers to being more active investors to from a subscribing perspective or wiring of the funds perspective. But when that's really what I'm focused on right now, to activate these folks.
Yeah, that's awesome. I met you 2 years ago, actually, at Dealmaker Live in Dallas, and this whole thing was like a gleam in your eye at the time. You've come an amazingly long way, so it's been great to kind of learn more about your story. How can people connect with you? LinkedIn, I'm sure.
Yes, 100%. Christopher Price, MBA, on LinkedIn for sure. The Real Chris Price on Instagram and Facebook. You can reach out to me also at boostmycapital.com, and that's a great way to reach out to us, learn more about myself and my team. I'd be happy to connect with you.
It's awesome. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for being on the show today.